What if the little orange light on your dashboard that makes your stomach drop every single time it comes on, the one that sends you straight to the mechanic with your wallet already open, what if that light was never meant to cost you $150 just to understand? And the worst part is, your mechanic already knows this. He has always known this. And yet every single day, people across this country sit in waiting rooms and hand over $100, $150, sometimes $200 just to be told what a $25 device could have told them in under 30 seconds. Most people pay over $100 just to read this one code. And this $25 device does it in under 30 seconds. I know how that sounds. I thought the same thing when I first heard it. But about 3 weeks ago, I ran into something that completely changed the way I think about every single trip I have ever made to a mechanic. And what I found that night made me question every bill I have ever paid. So if your car has ever thrown a check engine light, and statistically there is a very good chance it has, then what I am about to show you is going to matter to you personally. Because this is not a theory. This is something I tested myself, and the results genuinely shocked me. Before I get into the full story, if this is your first time here, this channel is entirely focused on finding out what actually works on your car versus what the industry assumes you will just keep paying for without asking questions. If that is something that matters to you, hit subscribe right now and turn on notifications, because what I am working on next is going to surprise you even more than this. Now, let me take you back to exactly where this started, because the way this whole thing unfolded still bothers me every single time I think about it. About a month ago, my check engine light came on while I was driving on the highway. No warning, no strange noise, no indication that anything was wrong. Just that little amber glow suddenly appearing on my dashboard like it had been waiting for the right moment to ruin my week. And like most people, my first instinct was not to research it or look into it myself. My first instinct was to call the mechanic, book an appointment, and mentally prepare to be told something expensive. Because that is what we have all been trained to do. The check engine light comes on, and suddenly you feel completely helpless, like your car is speaking a language that only professionals can translate, and you have to pay someone every single time you need to understand what it is saying. So I went in. I sat in that waiting room for about 40 minutes, staring at a coffee machine that nobody was using. The mechanic finally came out, handed me a printed sheet of paper, and told me it was going to be $280 to fix an oxygen sensor. When I asked him how he knew that, he pointed at a handheld device sitting on the counter behind him and told me his diagnostic computer had read the code. The diagnostic fee alone was $140. Not for fixing anything, just for reading a code. I paid it. I left. And something about that entire experience bothered me the whole drive home, because the process of him reading that code had taken less than a minute. I had watched him do it through the waiting room window. He walked to my car, plugged something into a port under the dashboard, looked at a small screen for about 30 seconds, unplugged it, and walked back inside. That was it. $140 for less than 60 seconds of actual work. And at that point, I started wondering something that I could not get out of my head. How many times had I paid for something I could have done myself? So that night, I started looking into it seriously. And what I found genuinely stopped me cold. And this is the part almost nobody tells you, not even the mechanic. Because it turns out that the device mechanics use to read your check engine light codes is not some proprietary, professional-only technology that requires special training or licensing to access. It is a completely standardized system that has been legally required on every single car sold in the United States since 1996. It is called the OBD2 port, which stands for Onboard Diagnostics, and it is a physical plug that is built directly into your car, usually located somewhere under the dashboard near the steering column. And the reason this matters so much is that because it is a standardized open system, any compatible scanner in the world can read it. Not just the expensive machines at the dealership, not just the professional tools at the shop, any scanner, including ones that cost $25 on Amazon and connect wirelessly to your phone through a free app. When I first read that, I honestly did not believe it. I assumed there had to be a significant catch somewhere. Maybe the cheap ones only gave you partial information, or maybe the data they showed was unreliable. The meaningful differences between cheap and expensive scanners show up in advanced features like live data streaming, freeze frame analysis, and bidirectional control functions, which are things that professional mechanics genuinely need for complex, deep diagnostics. Now here's the part of the story that I keep coming back to, and honestly, the moment that made me decide I needed to make this video. About a week after I got the scanner, my check engine light came on again. Different day, same car. And this time, instead of reaching for my phone to call the mechanic, I reached for the scanner. I plugged it in. The code appeared on my screen in about 20 seconds. It was not the oxygen sensor from before. It was something called an evaporative emission system leak, which sounds technical and serious, but which I immediately searched and discovered is one of the most common check engine codes that exists, and it is very frequently triggered by something as simple as a gas cap that was not tightened properly after the last fill-up. I walked around to the gas cap. I checked it. It had not been sealed correctly. I tightened it firmly until it clicked. I went back to the app, cleared the code, and watched the check engine light turn off. The entire process took under 2 minutes, and I was still standing in a parking lot when it was done. I did not pay a diagnostic fee. I did not sit in a waiting room. I did not sign off on a repair estimate for a system that did not need repairing. I tightened a gas cap, and standing there in that parking lot with my phone in my hand and the light gone from my dashboard, I thought about the last time the same light had come on. The $140 I paid, the 40 minutes in the waiting room, the printed sheet of paper. The mechanic who had spent less than 60 seconds reading a code, I now knew I could read myself in 30, and I felt something I was not expecting. Not pure anger, though there was some of that. More like the specific quiet weight of realizing that you have been paying for something for years that you never had to pay for, and that the reason you kept paying was simply that nobody ever told you there was another way. And at that point, the question changed for me. It stopped being about this one visit or this one bill. It became something bigger. How many times, across how many years had I walked into a shop without the information I needed, handed over money for something I could have understood or even handled myself, and walked back out thinking that was just how it worked? What shifted for me after all of this was not only about saving money on a single diagnostic visit, though I want to be honest that saving $140 feels very good. What actually shifted was something harder to explain, which is the feeling of entering any car situation with real information in your hand instead of walking in with nothing. When you have already read your own codes before you walk through the door, you know what the issue is before anyone tells you. You can look it up in advance. You can understand whether what you're being told is genuinely serious or whether something minor is being presented as something more significant. You can ask informed, specific questions. You can get a second opinion that starts from an actual baseline. That change in the information available to you changes everything about the conversation. And I think the people on the other side of that counter understand that very well, which is likely why a $25 tool that every car owner in America could benefit from is not something that tends to come up during the intake process. The scanner I use works on any car made after 1996 that was sold in the United States, which covers the overwhelming majority of vehicles currently on the road. The link in the description has the exact model I use along with a couple of alternatives at different price points depending on how much functionality you want. Because the mid-range options around $50 do add some useful features if you want to go beyond basic code reading into more detailed diagnostics. Before I let you go, I want to hear from you right now in the comments. If your check engine light has ever come on and you paid a diagnostic fee only to find out it was something minor or something you could have handled yourself, drop the word paid. If you already own a scanner and have been using one, drop scanner. If this is the first time you are hearing about any of this and it genuinely surprised you, drop shocked. And if you think mechanics fully deserve every dollar of the diagnostic fee, and I have this completely wrong, drop wrong, because I mean it when I say I want to hear that argument. Every comment on this video helps it reach more people who are sitting in waiting rooms right now, staring at the same coffee machine, wondering why 60 seconds of code reading costs more than filling up their tank. If someone you know has ever paid for a car diagnostic, send them this video. It will take you 5 seconds, and it might save them real money the next time that little light shows up uninvited. A like on this video takes 1 second, and it genuinely helps this channel keep finding and testing things like this. I just wish I had known all of this earlier. It would have saved me hundreds of dollars and years of walking into situations I did not have to walk into blind. I will see you in the next one.